Hey, Prasun. So good to have you here, man.
Hey, Omar. Likewise. Yeah, great being here. Yeah, great seeing you.
Yeah, yes, you too. Congratulations on Wise and your launch of a new conference. You have a lot of things cooking, and I really appreciate your background. And I want to start with that. Like, I know you have a lot of exciting things going on. You have a deep passion for precision medicine. You come from a pharma background, and today we're going to be talking about what is next for innovation in pharma, and we're talking to a lot of innovators from Egypt and the Middle East that we have here today.
Hmm.
And
Wonderful.
Sanofi is really interested in like pushing this innovation agenda, which you are at the helm of.
That's amazing.
So
Yeah.
let's start. Yeah, tell us a little bit first about your background and your story that brought you here.
Yeah, so I think I'm over 20 years in this field. Actually, I started my journey in the field of precision medicine when the field was even not called precision medicine. We used to call pharmacogenetics. That's what the name actually. And then eventually the field evolved to when omics arrived, pharmacogenomics, then tailored medicine, and which is, by the way, still the best name, right? Then individualized medicine, then precision medicine. Individualized precision medicine. The word was coined just to take, into consideration digital health devices, medical devices, software as a service kind of, and now software, are becoming also as a prescription, along with drugs, right? Actually, so I think, and overall, in the whole field, a lot is happening that will eventually, help us how to live a long and healthy life, actually, which has been my focus, rather than being reactive, actually. So yeah, I have spent majority of my time in academia. I was with Rutgers for a really long time, did a lot of academic research. Then I was with US government, National Institute of Health, National Cancer Institute, actually did a lot of, cancer drug discovery, high throughput screening to identify, drugs that we can bring to patients, actually, and did a lot of clinical trials, actually worked at the cancer centers, so we had bench to bedsides and bedsides to bench side, actually research, after patients were treated, obtaining their tumor samples and see if the drug is working or not, actually. Then from there I transitioned to Genentech Roche, where I led their oncology drug discovery efforts, as well as phenotypic drug discovery efforts, actually using robots, actually, robotic automation driven robotic process automation driven drug discoveries, actually. I used to be called a guy with a robotic hands, so but yeah, I think it's and eventually yeah. So we did, had a robot army running everything from cell culture to identifying the molecules. Yes, and then from there from the next chapter, I thought, where I can put a lot of my expertise to fruition. And we thought that there was a gap, actually. There was an ecosystem, there was a payer ecosystem, there was a provider ecosystem, like hospitals, and there is a government, but there was a gap for nonprofit. And we came together, the ecosystem came together and formed American Association for Precision Medicine, that which is the goal is to bring these novel drugs and diagnostics to patients and help folks live longer and healthier lives. So yeah, so and an overall goal is to accelerate the field of precision medicine and transform patient health. So that's the
It's a big audacious goal,
thank you.
and I love that. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's why
And
we're here together, like to dream and engineer our dreams, right? Like create new realities, and that's the privilege that we have of this day.
Yeah, and collective future, right? Actually, the globe. What I believe and what I saw with precision medicine is the humanity overall becoming smarter, right? Rather than treating all the patients with the blockbuster drug approach, where everybody gets the same drug, and adverse drug reactions are a major concern, right? And then everybody is aware of that, actually. So now, how can we become smarter? And then you mentioned clinical trials, right? We are not only sparing the folks who will not respond, but we are also basically now increasing the success of clinical trials, because now we know which patients will respond and which will not. So you can just stratify responders, non-responders, toxic responders, right? Actually, so and then this way we can now pharma, like Sanofi, can have better ROI, because now they know what patient population their drug is working, so their drug diagnostics combinations can be developed together, right? Actually, and those programs can brought forward, actually, and then and these clinical trials would be now more successful, actually. So I think so I think that's the audacious goal, but it's the I think what I say is the real evolution of our intellect, actually, towards more smarter medicine, or precise medicine, or precision medicine, actually.
Yeah, and I love the way you broke that down, and I want to get into the weeds with clinical trials in a second. But first, let's define precision medicine. A lot of people may not be familiar with this, and I love the word that you use, tailored medicine. I had never heard of that before. But how can we define precision medicine in layman terms? Like what's the very basic definition that anyone can understand?
Yeah, so the precision medicine takes into account of patients' lifestyle, their genetics, genomics, as well as their environment, to basically understand their disease and treat them, actually. So more tailored medicine. That's the best definition, actually, that is out there right now. So.
So it's really personalized and customizable for a patient, rather than, as you mentioned, like we do a study and it fits like maybe 1,000 people, and we think that's a great clinical trial, but there are millions of people out there, so that are having like a specific disease, and each one of them reacts or has a different environment, has different biometrics, reacts to different things, right? So it's like it's like adding all these like data layers, basically.
Yeah, so I think I think I can give you one example, right? So like we worked initially on population studies, and the whole vision of precision medicine evolved by bringing together like how, so there are different individuals, right? So different populations. So how can we do a population specific treatment, right? So kind of grouping individuals in this proper population group based on their genomic profile, right? So for example, I worked on a SNP that predicted that that SNP was basically predicted response to a drug, and then we found out that SNP is basically so the folks that will have that SNP, they will be resistant to drug, and we figured out that one ethnic population had almost like majority of them, over 40% of them, 30 to 40% of them had that SNP, actually. So that really makes a real precedent to basically, if that ethnic population presents, you just test for that SNP, and when that SNP is present, you don't treat them with methotrexate, which is one of very, very toxic chemotherapy, right? So that's just one example, actually, of and then you spare them, and then you treat them with some other drug that will be more effective, right? I think that's the hope that help you kind of crystallize that vision, actually. And now from there, that was the genomics base, right? When now we have moved forward, now government is doing, so all of us program, US government is doing, where they're recruiting healthy volunteers, actually, and Google is doing, Google Verily is doing the project Baseline, actually. This also similar, where they are monitoring healthy volunteers and in trying to figure out what makes them sick. So then now what we will do is we will kind of transition after all these studies are done. We will have this massive data sets where we can really stratify what made people sick, and can we implement or those behaviors, those lifestyle factors, those pollutants, those environmental factors, can we minimize those, or can we become more aware of those and avoid those actually. So I think I like your background. In Japan, walking in a forest is not now a prescription. So we are basically we are pioneering this new era in medicine actually, and I think that would be more kind of will be more beneficial to patients actually.
Yeah, and in Egypt we have a lot of deserts, but I do miss the greenery a lot, and that's why I'm bringing it to me. Like changing my own environment. Hopefully that will affect both my mood and yours.
I think I have some of the friends who do immersive work, so maybe you could just go for a walk.
Exactly. Next step in the metaverse, you and I will be having this conversation with the audience. So. And that's like a really interesting place we went to now, because one of the biggest things is always data privacy, and even physicians and clinicians, like, we can talk about these things, but how many of us are pushing all our data and living this vision? We have, or there are a lot of obstacles, I think, to achieving generally like healthcare innovation, but specifically precision medicine when it comes to data privacy, data accuracy. A lot of data problems now that we're facing. So my question for you is, you've laid a great vision for precision medicine. Where are we today in terms of where the healthcare industry stands from achieving that vision?
Yeah, so I think thank you for bringing that data privacy issue, Omar. That's, I think, the existing issue, and in US, we are all aware of that. And I think a long time back we passed a bill which is called Genetics Non-Discrimination Act actually, that is, so if one gets discriminated based on your genomic information that you did, then there is a way you can sue a person, sue an industry, sue a company, right? Actually, so it's illegal to basically discriminate based on their genetic information and what they were predisposed to actually, right? So and a lot of those mutations are actionable, some of them are not actionable, right? So even we have now, the problem is we have array of tests, but some of them will say that you are predisposed to this disease, but then if you change your lifestyle you will never get it, right? Or you can you are more prone to it, but if you you change the trajectory of what will cause that, but then you get the point, just the knowledge of that helps you actually. So the early detection, early testing really helps, but then the outcome is not always so when I say that one of my friends had a mutation that will predispose him for Alzheimer's, but he never developed Alzheimer's actually, so because he kept his body fit and mind fit, and but then that knowledge really helped him with that. So yeah, I think that's so data privacy issues are real issues. And you mentioned the difference between the social media and the healthcare data, right? These are the two different worlds actually. In social media, data is a commodity, right? The companies are using, and in this field the data becomes a patient's own right now the hospitals and healthcare systems are basically a warehouse of that, and then they are trying to make a conscious decision in favor of patients, right? But I think your concern is valid. As we move forward and data is being generated, how do we do innovation around that so that the patient owns the data, right? Patient has the last say of how their data can be used, if their data should be used, or if not, if they stayed keeping it private, then it's their responsibility. But if they want that data to be used for some medical study, they should be allowed that flexibility actually. So that's the data privacy. So and so then I will call upon the governments and politicians to work together with stakeholders to try to build a governance around that data, and data privacy, like US has done actually. So and yeah, and then your second question was with a vision, Omar. Can you remind me what was that?
Yeah, the second question, and actually it's kind of big to where we're going with this. Like, where do we stand now compared to this great vision of precision medicine?
Okay, yeah. So I think
maybe you can like answer in terms of like the clinical trials and what you're seeing there.
Yeah.
You're at the spearhead of innovation, but what's reality looking like right now?
Yeah, so I think that's a very good question actually. So right now, precision medicine is a reality actually. That's, I can just confidently say now patients are going. So just to give you an example, oncology patient goes to the hospitals or healthcare systems, and there they are, tested for their genomic test is done, a biopsy is taken from the tumor, genomic test is done. The genomic test is telling, okay, these are the top genes actually. So for example, if it's a breast cancer, there's a BRCA1 positive. It's melanoma, there's a BRAF V600 positive. So, and based on that, we know what drugs to give to the patients actually. So this is now presently in the clinical practice in oncology realm. Like almost all big hospitals are doing this actually. Some of them even have their own sequencing facilities where they are in-house processing. Some are using other outside folks, vendors, to do the sequencing and analytics actually. But this is right now happening actually. And so while and in some of the institutions are now compiling together all the omics data. So genomics, metabolomics, methylation data, because a lot of genes are not only mutations are not the only reason the genes are silenced. Sometimes they are silenced because of methylation, the methylation marks actually. So I think how the methylation, I mentioned about the environment, like that's exposome. What is the exposome? Like what they are exposed to, right? Actually, if there is if a specific zip code you live in, right? What are the and you can just see what are the how the exposome looks like. There is this project where we are also trying to develop that exposome data set. So if they all can be layered together, and then some of the hospitals are already working on it, and then you build a data stack actually. So with the existing, suppose 1 million patients, and every new patient comes in, we just run by the existing data stack and try to identify where this patient fits, what is the mutation, what are the drugs that will respond, what drugs the patient will not respond and should not be treated, right? Actually, so this is the vision, and then the reports can be sent to physician by digital health actually, and the promise of precision medicine can be delivered to the patients by the physician, that is right drug at right time, in the right route actually. So it's all happening, but so future is here, but it's not evenly distributed. That's my favorite quote actually. We have to scale it actually globally. So bring it to places like Egypt, Middle East, India, China, and we are as an organization now scaling ourselves and our efforts to see if we can work with the local stakeholders to bring all the learnings that we have had in US, as well as the connects actually, and to help scale that in those regions actually.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about WISE, and what you guys are trying to do globally now with entrepreneurs and innovators.
Yeah, so we, WISE began as AAPM, angels and investors, which has been a group that has been meeting monthly. Actually, we have been, showcasing some of the most promising startups actually to the group, and then group has made a lot of investments, very promising startups actually. And now, but we noticed that there were a lot of investors that has broader investment thesis actually. They invested in, not only the healthcare, but also technology, sustainability, bio, other areas. So now we have graduated this group, and now it's now it's a a group itself. It's a world investors and entrepreneur society. Actually, that's what we are calling it, WISE actually. And then forefront is WISE 2022 conference, which we are organizing, hybrid conference, so anybody from the world can join, any investor, any entrepreneur actually, and virtually or in person in San Francisco. We are still evaluating how the COVID situation will look like, but I think if for sure in virtual and hybrid is on, and you can learn more about this on AAPM .health actually. So the events will be the funds, and funds can present their own their selves to the greater entrepreneur pool actually, as well as entrepreneurs will have a great opportunity to present their startups to a worldwide group of investors actually. Yeah, so it'll be a very fun party actually. Yeah, you don't want to miss it.
Yes. So, yeah, be sure to check out WISE 2022, and we'll be also talking and sending you information about it. Prasun, thank you so much. Speaking of wisdom, I would love to leave the listeners with one piece of wisdom that you would like to give to someone who's looking to innovate in the area of clinical trials specifically, and perhaps precision medicine and AI. What is the top piece of advice that you would like to leave us with?
Yeah, so I think coming to the wisdom space, actually, I think folks, new entrepreneurs come to the healthcare, arena, thinking that they will disrupt the healthcare, right? That's what I always hear. I'm here to disrupt healthcare, actually, and then when they, dive deeper, they realize that the healthcare is very complex, actually, at least in US, actually, it's very complex, multi-layered, right? And being a physician, Omar, how you have witnessed those complexities firsthand, right? Actually, yeah. So it's a very complex system. So my advice to the new folks, the new entrepreneurs, and the promising faces of the future, to basically find your own niche. Actually, try to find a use case and do innovation around that use case. Like you mentioned, clinical trials, right? Clinical trial. So they have a lot of problems. So recruitment, right? Actually, the consent form, right? Actually, and basically, and then overall post monitoring, right? After the patient has taken the drug, and overall right now in after COVID times, we know that remote trials, right? Where you will just ship the drugs to patients, and then they will take the drugs, and then they will basically use some kind of a digital interface to record their experiences, and somebody and then all that data will go into a central repository where as a trial lead you can go and analyze that. So these are some of the new and emerging areas actually right now where innovation can be needed. So yeah, so find your niche actually, and then grow from there actually. So then if you do innovation in your niche, and then you collect more funding, then more partners and more success, then you grow from there and become huge actually. But I think the focus in the beginning is very important actually, to at least make it big in the healthcare sector actually. So those are my a few words of wisdom, coming from my own experience.
You mean we're not just going to disrupt healthcare, make a lot of money, exit smoothly, and then go to an island somewhere? And
yeah, that maybe in tech that's how it works, but in healthcare, the overall I learned is that the goal should be, I think it's the goal should be to basically to help patients actually. So the healthcare is becoming patient centric, right? So help patients, and then from what pain point in this healthcare industry, in healthcare complex ecosystem we are solving, right? Actually, and if you solve that pain point, there is a lot of money in the healthcare system that can be showered upon you, and all your dreams will come true, not just what you mentioned. any wild dreams actually. But just the goal is that one has to be sincere and try to solve those pain points that not only helps the stakeholder but helps the whole the patients and overall ecosystem, and kind of pushes us to new reality actually, from what we have right now. And I agree that it needs to be disrupted actually, but disrupted from one pain point to other pain point.
Yeah, and I'm just kidding. Like, I think that's the best piece of wisdom anyone can tell someone going in, because sometimes people see the number of dollars that are being spent in healthcare, or it's becoming a sexy, trendy thing, or the amount of VCs that are investing. But what they don't tell you before you go into healthcare is that it is a very painful industry to be in, and it's not straightforward. And if you don't have these motivations that you just talked about, which is going above and beyond to push through these obstacles and help a lot of people, it's really hard to be successful. Like, might as well, do something else.
Yeah. I think there was two examples. There was a Google and there was another healthcare company, and Google was a technology company, started at the same time. And in 10 years, Google became, what Google is now, taking over the world. And the healthcare company is still, progressing at its pace, right? Yeah, getting their clinical trials, getting their molecules, so that's just an example, to bring you in the perspective. So these are, but then there are examples like, Flatiron, right? Flatiron took one problem is EHR. How do we, make sense of the EHR unstructured data, right? And they worked on that, and then they made sense of it actually, at least to some extent, and they were acquired by Roche by $1.9 billion actually, so just that one problem they tackled actually. So I think there's a lot of value. And what I'm trying to say is that there are these small incremental problems that if you just focus on solving that one problem, I think that just single contribution is worth is priceless actually. And as entrepreneurs, as leaders of the new world, we all should be, I think I call upon all the entrepreneurs to join hands in our fight against the upcoming pandemics, or knock on the wood that doesn't happen, but but we have to be mindful that in the connected world, that's is just always a possibility. So we have to really, health is wealth, right? So we have to, although we invest in other things, now we have to heavily invest in the healthcare actually, because that we don't want to come at a point where we have this luxurious life, but then you get a virus and your whole family is annihilated, right? So that will not be a good investment. So, and pandemic has given us brought us to our knees and shown us the reality actually. So I think we all have to invest in healthcare, and then and make us all healthy, and then build upon that actually a new society which will be have a health of its individuals at core of it, and build upon that the smart cities and smart sustainable ecosystems actually. Yeah.
Prasun, thank you so much for being with us, man. You've given us wisdom and a lot of science and a lot of hope that's, I'm sure, going to inspire a lot of us throughout the next days and weeks and years. So we look forward to talking to you again and diving more into the specifics of these things, and to collaborate with what you're doing with WISE. Thanks for pushing the envelope on all our behalf.
Thank you, Omar. Thank you. Always great seeing you. And then, and yeah, I think I'm on LinkedIn actually. Reach out to me. My email is very easy, prasun.mishra@aapm.health. And we are on AAPM. Our website is aapm.health. So I think it's all there. So looking forward to working together, and you guys have a great event actually. Yeah. So looking forward to great talks and discussions.